Hey, Lauren Hughes here with Integrity Home Group and Keller Williams Preferred. We're doing our investment series today and we're talking about cash on cash return. This is one of my favorite numbers because I think it's a real number and because it deals with the cash. So it's a indicator of your actual cash. It's not just some fantasy number that looks good in your P&L report that investors like to sometimes look at, or they like to use for fundraising. Your P&L report is your profit loss statement, which I do care about. I care about very few numbers in my P&L. Maybe one day I'll care more about them. I know my accountants do, but I care more about what's going on with my cash. And so cash on cash return is one of the most important ones that I use. I use that and the ROI, return on investment. But back to cash on cash return, that is your annual pre-tax cash flow divided by the actual cash invested. And that is your cash on cash return, which is, that's the reason why I like it, is because that bottom number, the actual cash invested, because that's, in my opinion, that's what's real, because that's your money that you're giving for that asset. And so it's not, that's the only part of this equation that I like to base my decisions off real numbers, not speculation and not, so many other things. But I love basing my numbers off the actual cash that I invest, because that's how my portfolio works. Everyone's portfolio is a little bit different. Mine I base mine off the cash that I have invested. And so that's where I do my annual returns, my return on investment. It's what I base everything on, is that cash that I actually invested. So that is the cash on cash return. Helps you analyze the investments by focusing on the returns, which is what I was just saying and why I like it so much. And then it also gives you the effect on leverage and mortgage loans being a part of that investment. And that's the other reason why I like this number, is because there's some numbers that people like to focus on, like the cap rate or the NOI, the net operating income, but they don't always account for your financing portion of the investment. And for me, I've learned my lesson. I did one deal in cash, and I'm probably never going to do it again. Maybe, but it better be a darn good deal, and I better have a darn good reason for giving cash again. And so now I leverage as much as I can. And with that said, you have to be very careful with that, because you don't want to get into an over-leveraged situation. I like to have a big old pile of cash on the side, but I'm like, hey, you want to work with me because I've got this pretty little pot of gold over here, but I'm not giving it to you. I'm going to leverage that, and I'm going to leverage that to my advantage. And, if things change and everything hits the fan, I can go to that pot of gold and I can get myself out of the mess that sometimes I get in. I'm not, I could lie and say I do everything perfect every time, but that would be a big fat lie. And these video series are me being honest about my investing strategies, and I don't have all the right answers, and YouTube people like to comment on that a lot, and I'm so grateful that people are commenting. I do not give advice based on what you are you need to get an A on your test. I've never been a very good student, but I do know how to make money, and I do know how to be an investor. And I think, in life, you gotta go with the flow and make modifications, because we don't all fit into a pretty little box. So I'd say a lot of it, everyone's portfolio is different, and so I adapt my numbers to what works for me, and that makes me a profit. And everyone's portfolio is going to be a little bit different, which is why I think investing it's not a one size fits all, it can fit anyone. So thank you guys for turning in on the cash on cash return.